All right, let's get right into it. Today we're taking a close look at Pakistan's huge new plan to lock down its digital future. It's called the PISF 2025. And listen, this isn't just another boring policy paper. We're talking about the master blueprint for a national cybersecurity shield designed to protect, well, the entire country. So what is this thing really? At its heart, the Pakistan Information Security Framework, or PISF 2025, is basically a new rulebook. It sets a mandatory baseline for security that every single government organization, from the very top at the federal level all the way down to the provinces, now has to live by.
You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is with a metaphor we're going to keep coming back to. Just imagine the government is building a massive digital fortress to protect all of its critical data and services. Well, the PSF 2025, that's the master blueprint for the whole project. It details every single wall, every gate, and every guard tower.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the big idea behind this new digital blueprint. Then, we'll figure out exactly who's on the hook for getting it built. After that, we'll peek inside the toolkit at the 13 security controls, see what engine is going to power this whole thing, and finally, we'll walk through the 4-phase construction timeline. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. What's the fundamental goal here? What's the vision behind this new digital blueprint? Now, what's really telling on this slide is one little word: shall. This isn't a list of friendly suggestions or, some best practices they hope people will follow. Nope, this is a directive. The framework is specifically designed to force compliance across the entire government, making sure everyone is part of one unified defense.
That brings up a pretty important question. Just how wide is this net being cast? Who exactly is responsible for building all the different parts of this digital fortress?
And the answer is pretty much everyone in government. We're talking all federal ministries, their departments, government corporations, the whole shebang. It also covers the CERTs. Those are the country's cyber first responders. And, this is key, it includes anything designated as critical information infrastructure. So think power grids, banking networks, telecom systems, the stuff a country can't live without. The document makes it clear, everybody has to comply, but the level of that compliance will change depending on how big and important your organization is.
Okay, so if you're one of these organizations on the hook, what are the actual tools you're supposed to use? This brings us to the very core of PISF 2025, the security controls themselves. The entire framework, this whole fortress, is built on a foundation of 13 essential security controls. Think of them as 13 separate instruction manuals, each one tackling a different, vital piece of cybersecurity.
And man, when you look at this list, you realize just how comprehensive this plan is. They've really tried to cover all the bases. It goes from the high-level stuff like governance and risk management all the way down to the nuts and bolts. We're talking rules for everything, from basic security training for employees to super complex things like making sure the software supply chain is secure and even protecting the physical servers in a data center. It is a truly holistic approach.
Of course, a blueprint is just a plan on paper, right? So next up, let's look at the engine that's supposed to turn these 13 sets of rules into a living, breathing reality.
The plan gets pretty practical here, laying out a 4-step approach. Step 1, you gotta fund it, so organizations have to set aside money in their budgets. Step 2, you need the right people, and I thought this was clever. The framework suggests converting empty job positions into new cybersecurity roles. 3, if you don't have the expertise in-house, you can hire pre-approved outside firms. And finally, the most critical step of all, oversight. And this part is absolutely crucial. This isn't some set-it-and-forget-it policy. It is not an honor system. The National CERT and the National Telecom and IT Security Board are actually going to be conducting audits. They're going to be checking the work, making sure the fortress walls are being built exactly to spec.
So, as you can probably guess, building a digital fortress this big doesn't happen with the flip of a switch. It's a carefully planned, multi-phase rollout. Let's check out the construction schedule.
The roadmap here is just really logical. It all starts in phase 1, where you lay the foundation. Writing the policies and figuring out who's in charge of what. Phase 2 is all about mapping the terrain, finding your most important digital assets, and figuring out the biggest risks. Phase 3, well, that's where the heavy construction begins. And Phase 4 is all about constant inspections and upgrades. And if we zoom in on that Phase 3, you can see it is the real heart of the operation. This is where most of the hands-on, practical security controls actually get put into place. Things like managing who has access to what, protecting data, planning how you'll respond to a breach, and locking down your supply chain. But here's a little detail that's super easy to miss, and honestly, it might be one of the smartest parts of this whole plan. The framework says that security training is not a one-time thing. It's built into every single phase. This shows a deep understanding that a fortress, no matter how strong its walls, is only as good as the people guarding it. Technology by itself is never, ever enough. So we've seen the blueprint, we know who's supposed to be building this thing, and we've walked through the timeline, which of course leaves us with one final and really important question.
Look, the PISF 2025 is an incredibly detailed and impressive blueprint for a national digital fortress. But like any grand design, its success won't depend on how good the plan looks on paper. It's all going to come down to execution. It's about getting the right technology, securing consistent funding, and, maybe most important of all, finding and keeping the trained, committed people you need to see it through. That is the real challenge that lies ahead.